This legislative session, Power Coalition and partners work to push for and fight against bills that will impact equity and justice across the state of Louisiana. Through our legislative tracker, take action pages, weekly updates, day at the Capitol mobilizations, and more, we were able to make our voices heard at the Louisiana legislature. Power Coalition's priorities this legislative session were House Bill 449, sponsored by Rep. Willard, which protects and expands voting opportunities for people with disabilities.
The two main takeaways that HB 449 would do is that it would create an Americans with Disabilities Act compliance officer appointed by the Secretary of State and housed in the Secretary of State's office. The other thing that it would do is create a voting accessibility advisory group, which is similar to the task force that we created last year. Like I said, we thought it was very insightful and informative to have Louisiana citizens with disabilities weighing in on some of the ways that we may be able to improve voting accessibility for people in Louisiana that were living with disabilities.
House Bill 538, sponsored by Rep. Jenkins, expands standardized early voting locations.
The bill sets up a guideline for a minimum number of early voting sites based upon a parish's population and area that may be established. Members, the object of the bill is basically to provide and create equitable accessibility in each parish if it is determined that there's a need for an additional early voting site, regardless of the size. If there's a need, the whole idea of this bill is to have equitable accessibility. So it can be based on population, but like in many of our rural parishes, the issue becomes distance that voters may have to travel in order to get to one early voting site.
House Bill 553, sponsored by Rep. Gleber, adds a seat to the Board of Election Supervisors for a voter with a disability.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Members, it's my privilege to present to you today House Bill 553. It seeks to provide an appointment of a voter with disabilities to the State Board of Election Supervisors. The appointee would be selected by the governor from a list of nominees from leading organizations representing and serving people with a broad range of disabilities. The final nominee would be subject to confirmation by the Senate.
Senate Bill 80, sponsored by Senator Fields, ensures public input during redistricting.
Senate Bill 80 will basically ensure community participation and transparency in future redistricting efforts in Louisiana by codifying the many best practices that the legislature has adopted in recent years. The bill also ensures that the best standards for public participation and transparency in the redistricting process at every level of government by setting the same requirements we've used in the past several years.
It is with great sadness we announce that the legislature did not pass some of these bills this session that would have benefited everyone in Louisiana. House Bill 538, which would have expanded early voting locations, and House Bill 553, which would have appointed a voter to the Board of Election Supervisors, both failed to pass. Additionally, the legislature passed the state budget bill, HB 1, which includes $44 million in new funding for early care and education. This is the largest investment of state dollars into the Child Care Assistance Program in over a decade. HB 1 is now headed to the governor's desk.
Just wanted to make the committee aware of that. We know that we've had record low unemployment in our state, and at the same time, we've served the most children that we've served in child care assistance in over a decade. This is paramount for us to have an economy to thrive. It's a workforce of today and tomorrow issue. This is a critical infrastructure issue, is what child care is.
We want to appreciate the over 500 people in our community this session who came to the Capitol to further equity and justice for everyone in Louisiana. Thank you.